Good morning and welcome back to the Tobago Updates Morning Show. And we have here in studio our final guest, Dr. Denise Tsoiafatt-Angus. She is the former chairman of the Tobago Festivals Commission. She has quite a bit of experience in carnivals, managing and planning festivities on the island. And she's here to give us her thoughts on the Tobago Carnival 2025. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning to you, and good morning to Tobago, Trinidad, and the diaspora, wherever you're viewing from. And just to add, a former Secretary of Community Development and Culture,
Yes.
managing at that level also.
So you have various levels of experience in
With the
terms of
carnival.
managing these festivities,
Yeah.
particularly Carnival as well. Dr. Angus, we've heard the reviews, we're hearing rave reviews about the Tobago Carnival 2025. Persons are satisfied, persons have spoken about the growth of the festival. And tell us what your thoughts and what your assessment of the Tobago Carnival was.
Well, first of all, let me put a disclaimer, because after I attended Blue Food, I was flat out ill in bed, so I missed the whole carnival personally.
Wow. You got
Yes.
you got wet from the rain?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And so I missed it. So I am speaking through the eyes and voices of those who participated, because I took the time to call around and talk to various people about their perspective of the carnivals. When I speak to you, it's not my personal opinion.
Right.
Okay? Excuse me. So, yes, the carnival has grown tremendously in terms of the numbers, in terms of the participation from outside of Tobago, and even in terms of the organization of activities. I think we must note that given the large numbers of persons who attended, we really didn't hear any significant police challenges with managing the crowd. And I think we ought to be commended for that, and also the police service, because oftentimes when you have those large numbers, the first thing is, are they going to be rowdy? Are they going to misbehave? Are we going to have incidents? And you really didn't have that many. What we had was, of course, an increase of road accidents. I think we had a couple, 2 or 3 that were quite serious.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, yes, they have improved. The numbers have increased. And so overall, I think they had a good event.
Right.
Yeah.
In terms of persons, the feedback that you would have gotten from persons that you spoke to, did they attend any of those events that were executed by the Tobago Festivals Commission, such as the Soca Titans? They participated in the road, the parade of the bands, Rocks Glow, those kinds of events that were executed by the Tobago Festivals Commission, and what were their assessment of those events?
Okay. Soca Titans was good. It was a good event. The standard there was also lifted in terms of performances, in terms of, the attendance. That seems to be attended by more local persons. Mm-hmm. And when you look on the television, you could see maybe more local persons attended those. That was a good experience for persons. I haven't spoken to persons about Rocks Glow. And then you said the mass.
Yeah,
So I haven't gotten, to the parade of the bands. And commendations to Verse. Of course, Verse came out of Bacchanal Calypso tent.
Right.
And we would have launched his career out of that tent a couple of years ago. So congratulations to Verse on that. In terms of I think one of the things in terms of I think what came out is we had a great time, but there could be better planning.
Right.
Yeah. And you have the, right before, stakeholders not knowing if they're getting money, how much money, even when the event was supposed to happen. I think we saw that with the Calypso group, the Calypso sector, and I think that needs to be dealt with a little better in there, and then we could see something coming out a little more.
In what ways do you think they could make those improvements?
Start planning. I mean, as the secretary of a former secretary of community development and culture, when I got there, normally you will have your plan for heritage, and then the same committee, as soon as heritage done, they start a plan for carnival. And I said to them, we are not serious about building an industry. And so I said to them, we're going to have a separate heritage committee that is year-round and a separate carnival committee that is year-round. So you focus on carnival. As soon as the carnival is finished, you begin planning for the next carnival. As soon as heritage is finished, you begin planning for the next heritage. And so we're not seeing that anymore. You're seeing the same committee kind of just, and I call it bat up and catch, because that is what they're doing. Not focused on actually building out the potential that you have. Now that you have an even additional carnival, I believe that you have to have a third committee, because the carnival in October is different from the carnival in at national level, and therefore they have to pay attention. It takes a year or more to really plan to get what we need to get out of these events. And I think at this point, I'm always an advocate that it's not just about an event. It's about building an industry, and we have the opportunity to do that. It's about looking to see, how do I, instead of walking in the shop and always spending my money, how do I grow from there to owning the shop?
So, the current structure is that the Tobago Festivals Commission, which is a state enterprise, they would plan the festivals on the island. They would execute the festivals on the island. You are calling for a bit of a change in that structure by requesting for there to be separate committees for each festival. Am I correct?
Well, remember, the Festival Commission has a board. Yes. Yeah, the board has a responsibility. Under the board, you can have 3 separate committees. Yeah, a committee. We also had a jazz committee. So a committee that manages and plans for the National Carnival, a committee that manages and plans for the heritage, and another one that plans for the...
So to be clear, you are petitioning the board to make a bit of structural changes to establish subcommittees within the board itself.
Absolutely. Well, not even within the board that manages. So you can co-opt persons from outside of the board on those subcommittees, which is what we would have done in the past. You get experts to come in from outside of the board, yeah, to be a part of those subcommittees. And you get them to execute. I mean, not execute is happening on the day, but you get them to plan and have some more strategic planning as to where it is going, and that is how you deal with it.
So persons have spoken about the growth of the carnival over the years, from its inception to now in its 4th year. We've seen, I think in this 4th year, the most amount of interest from persons, particularly outside of Trinidad and Tobago, were really interested in participating in the carnival, coming to the carnival, and we had a lot of stakeholders as well from Trinidad coming now and investing in the carnival. Would you not say that that is due to some sort of strategic planning and improving over the years?
No, I didn't deny that, yeah, but there's a term called trending. Yes? And right now we may be trending. But if you don't put in things in place for a sustainable approach, then you're trend, and then it does this. And you wonder why it did this. Yeah? So I'm saying, and I usually think, long term. How do you manage this long term? How do you grow it long term? How do you make it sustainable and not just a trend, going beyond the trend? Yes? And that is why you need a dedicated committee year-round planning this. If we are not serious, if we're not prepared to do that, it means that you don't realize what you have on your hands, that you're still planning for an event that occurs, on that day. There's so much more that can be done to ensure that this 20 million that was spent, that we get way more out of it than the 20 million spent to put on the event for the weekend. Okay? We have to find ways now of saying, okay, we have a weekend event. How do we get people here long before the event? Yes, and the idea has been an advocate of long stay tourism as something that becomes more sustainable than just a weekend blimp on the map. There's nothing wrong with that, yes? It is a starting point. But how do you move from this starting point into creating something sustainable? And that is where, the thought process is right now.
So you spoke about making it sustainable. I don't know if you have, apart from this establishment of the committees, if you have any other additional suggestions in terms of making the festival sustainable.
Well, we could be here all morning, because I have so many ideas. Perhaps they need to call me.
Okay, so you possibly should have a sit-down chat with either the chairman of the Festivals Commission or the CEO of the Festivals Commission and exchange some ideas. And
who is the chairman now?
Well,
those
that's
things,
a different
you have to have
conversation
clarity on those rules.
Apart from that, what else do you think can be done to improve the visitor experience for the Tobago Carnival?
Well, one of the visitors said to me that whilst they enjoyed it, they felt that they didn't have enough access to local foods. And you get two sides of the stories there. Mm-hmm. They felt that they were looking for local foods, not even a pilau, which you could get in Trinidad, local Tobago type foods. And they had a hard time getting it as coming here for part of the experience. Now, vendors who were in Scarborough would tell you that they did not have a good time as they felt they could have, because you had a whole lot of all-inclusive trucks and all that on the day, and therefore they were not patronized as much. So there are two sides of that story, and I think we need to find a way to listen to them and to be creative and innovative about what you can put in place to satisfy both ends of those complaints.
And so, Dr. Angus, just before we wrap up, I want to know if you have any other additional information you would like to give, any other additional feedback you would like to give about the Tobago Carnival.
Well, persons have said that they were very excited about the pan on the road, but they felt that there were not enough pans on the road. I know they had two stationary stations, mm-hmm. but they wanted to actually chip to pan on the road. And this is where high commendations came in for George Leacock, and I must say it, for the way he created a pan on the road, but made it almost like a DJ truck. So people felt that was quite innovative, and they gave him high commendations for that. And but they felt that you should have had more pan on the road. And this is where perhaps an exit survey would be important to understand the demographics of those who attended and what they were interested in. And I don't know if we had an exit survey, but if you didn't have an exit survey, that was a huge, missing that you could have had.
I know that they had surveys at the various events. They had researchers going around doing surveys at the various events, including the parade of the bands on the day itself. They had a number of surveys, but in terms of an exit survey when persons are leaving the island, I don't know if they did that.
I mean...
But I think they have been doing surveys. They have been seeking feedback. The Festivals Commission has been quite active in terms of seeking that feedback, and we hope that perhaps you can have a conversation, have a meeting, and sit in the rooms with the right people and share, give your knowledge and give your valuable feedback, and that we could all work together to really build this festival for the greater benefit of Tobago.
Everyone knows me as somebody who is very generous with my information. Even today, being, quite generous in giving all these tips to them, and it must mean that I am very passionate about, Tobago, about the culture, about seeing us progress. But I keep saying that, you have to be very careful about trends and how you manage that trend into being something sustainable, because if you're not looking to do that, we will become a trend until the next trend, and now is the time to really sit down and put some diagnostics to it, and not just be in the euphoria of, oh, we had a bumper crop. No, now is the time. Yes, you had a bumper crop, but now is the time to really sit down. And I mean, from my medical background, anybody would tell you that just before sometimes a patient dies, they are at their best. The family thinks, oh my gosh, they're on the way back. They're at their best. And unfortunately, that was just the big spark before it dies. So again, a lot of diagnostics. Yes, celebrate, but a lot of diagnostics have to be done now to understand how do you build it out to ensure that you get the most out of this. Some people even said, oh, this was just Trinidad Carnival in Tobago. And that was a Trinidadian who said that. Okay? So how do you manage that to ensure that at the end of the day, Tobago really benefits, and the trickle down to the man on the ground, the trickle down to the communities, that absolutely happens. So, yeah, that's...
All right, viewers, you heard it from Dr. Denise Tsoiafatt-Angus giving her feedback on Tobago Carnival and giving us quite a bit of nuggets in terms of how we could improve the visitor experience. And I know that the people at the Tobago Festivals Commission, they're always seeking to improve upon the carnival. And we hope that they may have listened in and they can, have a sit down with Dr. Angus and see what they can take from her and improve on the festival for 2026. Viewers, unfortunately, we have come to the end of our Tobago Updates morning show, but the programming continues. We have GMT up next, so do us a favor. Share the live, share the live, share the live. GMT is up next.